states can play a major part. So with that, let me go ahead and open up the questions if you would have anyone directed towards any of the governors here or any states that are represented.
Governor Manchin, you referred to a common message to Washington. What specifically is that message? What are you asking?
Basically what we're saying is that look at basically the resources we have, the grid system that we have, how we're producing power and what the dependency of the power that we're producing. Once that's done, how can we continue to do that but wean ourselves off of foreign oil? I think each one of us and everyone represented understands that foreign oil and the quest that this nation has and the thirst that it has for it has not boded well for this nation. And we think that we can solve that by working realistically within the resources that we have and developing our resources and truly and being responsible to the environment also. With that, we're trying to find those answers, and every one of the governors, every one of the states represented have done tremendous things in that as far as incentives, working with it, greening and cleaning the resources they have now to use them better.
I would just say to Congress, pass an energy bill or get out of the way. I think I speak for every one of us energy states by saying we have several projects, whether that be solar or wind power, coal gasification, advanced oil and gas techniques, pipelines, transmission lines. Everybody's waiting to see what's going to be in the energy bill. Are there going to be incentives for blue pipe or yellow pipe? We can't move until they pass an energy bill. If they're not going to pass an energy bill, then they need to get out of the way.
This, the problem right now is that there's no roadmap for people to follow, whether you are a state or whether you're a private investor. And I think you'll learn later today that a lot of the uncertainty surrounding what's going to be the framework for both managing carbon and producing energy turns out to be the great uncertainty. And you've got a lot of capital sitting on the sides, whether it's working on power lines to help move wind power or solar, whatever it is. If you don't have your base load in terms of either nuclear or coal-fired power to keep that line alive, you're not going to have it. And the problem is that Congress has been has operated on its prejudices instead of on what ought to be policy. And I would say it this way: we have put literally hundreds of billions at risk in terms of both subsidies for wind and for renewables and for ethanol. But for the core industries that underlie the provision of energy, we have done little or nothing as a nation. And what we're saying is you've got to support all of these, and you've got to support them vigorously, not just as a matter of carbon management, but as a matter of simply having energy available to fund and to operate this economy.
I'm particularly impressed with the consensus and the unity that all of the different energy producing states are developing with each other. And I think that's absolutely essential if we're going to make any progress at all in this area. It doesn't seem that Congress is willing to move fast or at all in this area, and it is time that they take this seriously. This is more than just debate time. This is action time. And the energy producing states are coming together and demanding action on the part of this nation to help us develop a type of energy policy that will make this country energy independent.
Any other questions?
Do you have a common opinion about a cap and trade carbon?
Well, the only thing that I'll speak for myself is on the cap and trade. Basically, as long as the benefits of cap and trade would go to the states or to the industries, if you will, that are producing the carbon. If it goes on the open market to where financiers, if you will, can basically speculate, it's not going to solve the problem. So depending on how that's developed and how it's offered and how it's put into the marketplace, I think overall what we're saying is that, as you know, West Virginia is a dependent state upon, and coal is very large in production of our power. The energy that this state and this nation needs, all of us. But it's coming from coal-producing states, natural gas-producing states. We understand there's a responsibility also. I believe very strongly that you have to have, and you've heard every one of the governors, a portfolio, a renewable portfolio. I believe we all can conserve. We all can look at solar. We all can look at our wind. We all have biomass. We all have some hydro. We have all of that. And I think it has to be part of the mix. That's the message that we're sending. You can't write one off and say, you know what, I don't like coal because It's a tough job. I don't like the appearances of coal, and I don't like the use of coal. Well, that's fine. The bottom line is all of us have been briefed all over this nation that coal produces close to 50% of the electricity. It will continue to produce a large share of that for many years until the next fuel cells, the next energy source comes online. With that, we can do it much better. We can use our gas more efficiently too. Because right now we're just spiking the market prices on everything, making it very difficult, especially people in fixed incomes. Also the labor force, it depends on a lot of these natural resources for their livelihood. There's just a balance to be had, and I think if we're saying one thing to Washington is work collectively in a nonpartisan way of having a true energy policy that works where all of us are contributing. And we'll play to our strengths, but we'll all be responsible, and I think we'll be accountable to what we need to do and what we should do as far as the balance of our environment and our economy at the same time.
I think you want to be careful about posing a question that says, do you want a tax or do you want cap and trade? Because ultimately the devil's in the details on this. And I think what you're hearing people say is, look, give us a scheme that reflects the diversity of actions that we need to take, both from renewables and conservation and the traditional sources of energy. And secondly, make sure that that scheme contains the proper innovation and technology incentives, as well as the proper level of regulation so that you've got some kind of a glide path to meet those goals. The question is, are you going to have a path that gets you to the goal, or are you just going to jump off the cliff and hope you can make the parachute on the way down? And it seems to me that the box we get in is people say, do you like cap and trade or do you like carbon tax? Well, I don't like either one until you tell me what the details are. It's like when your kids say, you know, Dad, give me $100, and you say, well, depends on what you want to do with it. And so I think that the trick for us is to try to get Congress to go several levels of detail lower in their analysis and start talking about what does it mean. And you've got to make this thing contoured to the regions of the country. I mean, it was stunning to me that with all the wind I saw here yesterday, that West Virginia is not comfortable with wind power. On the other hand, in Wyoming, they love the idea. And you have to recognize that each of us are going to have both political and cultural contours as well as energy resource availability contours that are going to make a difference. And the trick has been that the governors, we've probably gone about as far as we can go until somebody says, as a matter of national policy, here's where this country's headed with regard to carbon management, energy security, and some recognition of the economics of it in terms of, as Joe says, there are a lot of people when these prices go up that we need to have made allowances for how we're going to help them. Because the energy costs are going up with or without carbon constraints, but with carbon constraints are going to go up even more, and we have got to have a policy that recognizes the reallocation of resources that are going to accompany anything we do.
Let me just say very quickly, because we're going to break now, we're going to go back into the session. Dave did his own informal polling yesterday, and he found it, with all the wind we had, we were trying to hunt, and the snow blowing sideways, he thought this has to be a great place. So I guess talking to some of the hunters and some of the guides, some of the average West Virginians, what's your opinion? He found that it was not as receptive as he thought it would have been, I guess. And basically a lot of it is our view shed. You know, everyone has their personal opinion about that, whether it's mining coal, drilling for gas and oil, putting a windmill up, putting solar panels up if we have enough sun. Only thing what we're saying, all that's going to be part of our mix. It should be and it will be. And with that being said, we ought to let every individual make that decision. Net metering back if they will and wish to do. So I think we're giving every opportunity that we can for people to do their part of helping us be more secure in this nation. With that, unless there's another question, we're going to go ahead and go back in. If you need to take a break, restroom break, please do it. Grab yourself a cup of coffee and let's go.